Imaginarium wrote the book. Communal art and dreaming wide. Step inside, come join the ride. Something spectacular.
All right, we are recording. And so, of course, what we want to do is... Are you on the right place, Otto? Do you see MindsGaming?
Blueberry bow.
Yes.
Blueberry bow, I see.
So this is very exciting. I had the feeling that Ember's adventures were closed. So that they aren't makes me very happy. And there's this really lovely picture that he's put in here.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And he prompt sculpts these pictures very, very carefully and meticulously until he gets every single thing that he wants in the picture to be in it. So you can see dog, rabbit. Is this a black bat, do you think? Is this bat?
I'm not sure. I thought it was a kind of a mutant Pikachu, but could be a
bat.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Mike.
Story. This is the bow, and it has jacks on it. So obviously we are at Nate's at the moment, but Nate took over from Sue, and Sue, of course, was the best craftsman in the land. And her son, Jack, sold the things that she made. And so Jack was very arrogant and passed them off as his own work. Anyway, then Jack had an accident when a cowhide fell on him and killed him. And there is another bow that has been mentioned, and it was in conjunction with pirates. And it's possible that it could have been Jack's bow, wielded by somebody who had it before Jack or after Jack. We don't know what time it is that MindsGaming is writing. And so Nate has taken over Sue's farm, pulled out all the blueberries and planted tobacco, which is very sad for the boy and for Ember in terms of their memories. But here we can see this bird, and I think this bird, I don't know who this bird is. But
seems like blueberries.
Magic has found Sue's book. And that's a major artifact, I think, in this story. I mean, that's wow, if we could read Sue's book, think of the things.
That'd be wonderful.
And this is just down the road from the Scarecrow's house, the pumpkin patch. And we know that the last Dude, Where's My Wallet that we did before I went away was the Scarecrow and the little girl, Bob, the little girl, and Death.
The night of death night, yeah.
So there's another interpretation, another layer that overlays these stories, that we've actually made a Dude, Where's My Wallet with a different set of characters playing the role in the story. So you know this is the best story on the internet. And to join it, you have to join the Quantum Gathering. But to join the Quantum Gathering, well, nobody quite knows how to do that. You have to have security clearance. I'm going to read you this story because I am so excited. It's been so many months since I had a new story. The Blueberry Bow. Just up a small hill to the old blueberry field. Walking beside him was Belle, followed by Magic and Dot as well. To Nate, with a hasteful trot, looking for steel, the best he's got. Arriving at his stand by the tobacco crops. "Good morning," Nate said, as Ember landed next to a blueberry bush by the old shed. The boy didn't wait. He told his story fast, of pirates and gold, danger at a moment's grasp, asking Nate for steel at last. Nate looked concerned, slightly taken back. "Steel? I don't sell that. I once found an old bow in the shed out back." The boy was off with that. Through the tobacco to the shed, next to Ember where Sue rests with the dead. He opened the door and there the bow sat, whittled into the grip. It simply said, "Jack's." The bow was dusty and worn. The wood was solid to the core. It seemed lighter than its tack. The string woven cowhide. The string woven cowhide at that. If only he had an arrow in his backpack. Yet he just swung the bow over his shoulder like a strap. With all of his haste, worry and stride, he knocked a book off the shelf to the side. The gleam of the book caught Magic's eye, who had been watching the boy from right outside. She walked in the shed, picking up the book, opened it up to take a look. Inside the pages, scribbled with care, writing in cursive with blueberry fair, how to weave cowhide like it was hair. Magic showed the boy a wondrous glare, asking Magic if she could read it with care. "Does it say anything about arrows or swords?" Magic flipped through the pages, softly sure. Pages and pages of meticulous craft. Shield, cloaks, even gold into brass. Every margin filled to its last. Finding a page labeled "An Arrow's Lost Path." To make the perfect arrow, you must first find a tree, one that never hatched close to the sea. You need to climb up the limbs till you reach 23. Cut off the limb pointing towards the sea. Chop it thirds for the arrows you need. Whittle the arrows with a rock made of salt. Tie the rock you whittled with to the notch. Use only feathers found by the tree. That's how you make arrows of 3. The boy listened to every word Magic said, thinking of tall trees and where they led, repeating every single line he heard Magic say, making a list of every task in his head that day. Find a tree as black as bat, 46 feet, climb half of that. Chop the limb sailing to sea, cut that limb into 3. Follow the path the limb pointed to the sea. Find rocks of salt, I need 3. Craft each arrow with a rock. Sharpen the rocks to the top. Fletch the arrows with feathers of the tree's flock. Perfect arrows is what you got. The boy and Magic looked back and forth. Magic looked dazed. The boy looked sure, asking Magic to study the book even more. Magic agreed as the rest set out on their chore. Still worried of pirates, already dead at the shore. Still worried of pirates. They're still threatening us, Otto.
Yes, he did introduce those pirates to the story, which is always kind of interesting.
Pirates introduced themselves, Otto. He just wrote about them introducing themselves. They came to our village.
Yes. Poor author is no more than a channel for the events that are actually happening.
He's writing down the story of what happened.
He's recording what's happened. He's the recorder,
scribe
not
of
the author.
age. Yes. 3 arrows, Otto.
3 arrows.
Why did they come? I forgot why they came.
There are 3 arrows on a clock. Minute, hour, and second hands.
But why would
hand,
you time up
second hand.
and put
The axis mundi, the axle of the world around which the stars revolve and which measures all time.
See, they need a weapon. They need a weapon.
The arrows of time.
Ooh.
What is deadlier than the years?
The pirates. The pirates. The pirates have come to take over the village, and they need a weapon, and they found Jack's bow. Oh, goodness me. Otto, where was the last story of the bow? Alert the town. A raven of pirates? Buddy old man, the bird named Bat. What was alerting the town? Was that the pirates one? They went to find...
I'm going to have to check the relics page.
Oh, relics.
Is the bow listed among the relics? There's a lot of relics there.
That's a very good thought.
There might be some other things from the story listed there too. I mean, I read the relics, but I don't remember.
Ember's relics. Stone tablet. Oh, there's so.
You're getting sidetracked. You're getting sidetracked, young
Hey,
Bob.
I'm looking for it. The perfect backpack. Grilled cheese. A watchful throne. A stone tablet. Bridges, lakes, and trolls. The well of souls. Did you notice that in the last script we did for Roger, there was a well and there was an explanation of what the well was? Do you remember what they said the well was?
What did they say?
I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember either.
Well of souls.
But I remember thinking of the Well of Souls at the time.
Yes, 2 trees stumped, a fresh stream of full beer, crafting blueberry bows. Look at him. Weeks and months and years ago, crafting blueberry bows.
There we go.
A young, beautiful lady, not boastful, but kind. A blueberry farmer with a craftsman eye. She made the finest tools in the shed. turning lead into steel instead. She could find a little old twig, craft an unbreakable knife or wand in a swig. She melted down diamonds and gold, knit them into a sword, light as a crow. Stitch and weave cowhide as cloth, cloaks invisible, stronger than any dragon you'd cross. Skills only Father Time could match. Planted a seed from the cane of death, whittled it into the tree of life with just her breath. In our story, she once thrived, the best craftsman ever, blueberries cry. Jack, her son, made her older, sunken eyes, yell and shout in pride. Tried teaching Jack her magic so proud. Death found them both yelling in pride, so loud they died.
Interesting little way to end it.
Everybody dies in this story. It's the dyingest story that you have ever met.
Well, I also like just the way he does the rhyming and stuff. So that tells us a little about the bow.
It tells us a little bit about the bow. And if we look here, Ember's Adventures, the Scarecrow's House. No, I don't think it's in this one. I think it's in Ember's Brew. Ember's Brew. So he went to get the sword. Start of the story. Old Ale's potion. The mountainous hill. The lost chapter. The chicken has to eat. Just a fishing. I wonder if it's in Just a Day Fishing. When Sue dies. When does Sue die? Sue dies. It's a very sad day. Don't know if it's Just a Day Fishing. This might have been when Ale died. They meet the
Should
old...
make a timeline of all the different characters. And...
Oh, I wish I could. I just wish I had time for all of this. I would love to know them all. And
just do it on the whiteboard, you know.
Oh, do you think we could? Yeah. You
We
know,
never have the time.
Otto, we had that idea of doing the workshop of Mike's books. And then
Yes, I would still like to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
You know what I have somewhere? I can't quite put my finger on the notebook, but I have a notebook in which I've done all the workshops of his quantum physics book. Which book is that? Abstract Physics Pondering.
Oh,
I've done all these workshops.
wow.
I was wondering, would it be... Oh yeah, you see, look, oh, no, I went to the wrong one. Look. Intuitive exercise. Imagine a duck. Don't rush it. Let it be any duck. Cartoon or real, floating or flying. Now imagine a dragon. Again, no rules. Large or small, friendly or fierce. Fire or smoke, none at all. Notice something? You did not ask for definitions. You did not solve anything. Your mind assembled meaning effortlessly. Now, without thinking too hard, doodle a duck dragon. No erasing, no judging, no doing it right. Just let the two ideas collide on the page. This is how intuition works. Complex systems are often just simple ideas layered together before the rules are enforced. Equations behave the same way. Before symbols constrain them, they are concepts looking for shape. Keep the doodle. You may need it later.
That's very good.
Oh, look, there's my comment. 2 months ago.
I have a duck dragon. Nice.
Do you think it would be too complicated to do a feedback on both the books at once? I think we should have to do 2 different feedbacks, one from the one book and one from the other.
You love being all over the map, don't you?
Not really, it's just my state of being.
Well, you know, right now I'm thinking one thing at a time. I mean, we could do both, as long as we keep the segments separate but equal.
All right. Okay, talking
You
about...
know, and I think it depends on, too, how much time we have per show.
Right, yes.
You know, because we have an interview show, then we have less time to talk about, like, that's why we're sort of doing the new chapter rather than going back to the writing workshop. But it wouldn't be bad to do both books. That'd be great.
Well, this week we did an interview with Roger Hanson, infamous OG.
Yes.
And it was a really, really great interview, which I'm going to split up and release in 3 or 4 segments, talking about segments, Otto.
Right.
And I thought that maybe you could just say a few words for us about your experience of being part of that interview. It was a really, I don't know, it was one of those conversations that I feel I was really privileged to be part of.
Yeah, it was great to talk to Roger about like what he's doing. As you pointed out, Roger is often a quiet guy. He's responsible for a huge amount of shows, a huge amount of he's producing large amounts of content. That's the word I'm struggling for. He's responsible for a great deal of content, but very often he says the least. But he's really good at finding people. You know, I was saying he's put together for the Minds Roundtable is quite the little brain trust. You know, and I wouldn't be going back there if I didn't find that it was a group of people with whom I could have a really decent, intelligent conversation. And Roger especially seems to delight in getting intelligent people of different views together. But talking to Roger today was really great because, you know, I mean, I've been working with Roger a lot more, especially since, you know, we had our interregnum here, if you like, when you were away. And when I started doing the regular show with him on Tuesdays, which turned into Otto-matic Pilot, which, you know, he has been wanting me to do a show on one of his channels for a while now. And I'll be honest with you, in South Africa, I suddenly had a lot of time. So it was like possible for me to do. It wouldn't have been possible for me to do that otherwise, simply because of the other projects that we were both involved in. But it was kind of a reset. And, you know, he was doing such wonderful work with the quantum gathering and just being, you know, a central support to that. And we started working on the Tuesday night show, and that was interesting because it was Roger and I working one-on-one. So instead of Roger coping with 3, 4, 5, 6 other people, it was really me and Roger. So Roger could just respond without having to worry about. And I was saying to him earlier, you know, that this is when I started hearing more of his voice, because suddenly he was not, you know, having to cope with, you know, running everything like that. So And as I've told him before, the more he speaks out of his own experience and talking about himself and what he's doing, the more his wisdom can come out, the more his heart can come out. So he's been, like I said, really wonderful to work with. And I'm really glad we're giving him this chance to, get some of his wisdom. I mean, he hangs out with a lot of wise guys, wise men and women, wise guys. And, he would not be in this company if he wasn't also a wise person. But I don't think he's had as much of an opportunity to, like I say, speak out of his own. He's been busy producing other people's stuff. And as you pointed out, he's really good at listening to other people's stories, but he also really likes to tell stories. So I'm really glad we're giving him a chance to talk a little more about his stories. And the more he speaks, the more wisdom I hear and the more heart that I see. Yeah,
it was wonderful. It's really fantastic to have these 3 new shows, Something Spectacular, Otto-matic Pilot, and the third thing, just all of a sudden, spontaneously, just sort of all popping up one by one.
Like 3 arrows.
Like 3 arrows, coincidentally.
Like 3 arrows. That's what those arrows are, maybe.
We're shooting into the future, are we? Flying forward. Yes, well, magic arrows. Well. So just to make...
the Satori section of our store. Sure. The SatoriDelic. We need a SatoriDelic segment.
We do.
Be Shaman approved.
Be Shaman approved. So this is a really, really great video that he and I did. I did the narration. This is one of the very first prompts that he did, that we discussed in detail on the podcast that we're doing together, the Obsidian Butterfly section of Behind the Screen with Lumina. And we talked about it on the podcast. He took that output that we discussed and he elaborated on it and made it into this amazing 20-minute performance, which he then gave me and I read and passed back to him, and he produced this really, really interesting video, layered with, if you've been following his work for a few years, you will see many of his past projects referenced in this video. So yeah, important to mention that. I think this is quite an important work of his that I think in the future will be seen as pivotal in the emergence of his voice as a prompt sculptor, as an artist, and of course as a shaman, among many different caps that he wears. Okay, so thank you very much indeed, Otto, for joining me. We've had a really, really long, busy day, and I very much appreciate all the input that you give to make this show a success. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Please you. And I'll see you again next week.
Next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Bat, the bird named Bat. Ooh.
The bird named Bat. The bird named Bat. Okay, so Otto, we're going to go now into I'm going to end off this part of the show, and we're just going to go into the interview with Roger, which, as I say, we will split up over the next few weeks. All right, so are you ready to go? Shall we just jump straight into it? Everybody ready?
Sure. I am if you are.
Okay. Well, Roger, firstly, thank you very, very much indeed for coming and being on the show. I think that I met you around about a couple of years ago, was it? When you were doing Secret Santa with Jaffe. And we had some really good chats and you told me some interesting things. And since then, we've kind of been on our own projects. But recently, while I was away, you took over my what I was doing, and you have made it into something truly awesome. So I just wanted to thank you for that, for stepping in and for everything that you've done. It's really, really above and beyond the call of duty, what you did. Very grateful to you.
I appreciate that, but I also want to say, that all I did was record. Otto was the star of the show. He really.
I don't know about that.
He really did a lot.
Yeah,
So,
Otto is the star. You are the star.
I did what I could. I did what I could, but I couldn't have done it without Roger. He was a pillar of strength and brought us an audience and brought us some great guests. Scott, I knew those guys, but how can you go wrong when you've got like the brains trust that Roger has managed to gather around him online? So. Hey, you managed to get Mark Edworthy, the smartest guy on the internet, best dressed guy on the internet, and V, the internet's original court jester, and even Tan sometimes, who's a really brilliant guy in his own way, Canadian though he be. But he's not French Canadian, so we're okay there. We might have to cut this part out about the French Canadians.
I was really worried about B, because he's a rebel. But he actually shined in the end. He really came through too. He did a really good job. I gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Fantastic. Yes, really great. And your show the other day was just so fun. The Minds Round Table with everybody together. There was such a lovely vibe. So yeah. So Roger, just to get the ball rolling. If you were to introduce yourself to the show, what would your introduction of you be?
Well, the whole thing about it is like I could call myself like a producer or a live stream guy or any of those things. But the only way I can really describe myself is all of the above, you know what I mean? Because like everything that I've done when it comes to live streaming and all the editing and everything, and even the uploads, I've done it myself, you know what I mean? So I haven't done one of a certain thing, so I'm kind of like the guy who does it all, you know what I mean? I even do my own graphics because I don't want copyright strikes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I can answer that. I learned earlier on, it's better to use my own content rather than use somebody else's, and that's why I started getting into working with Blender and stuff. So I'd have to say a little bit of everything, man of all trades.
Right. You work really, really, really hard. I know that you are sort of at your computer from morning till night, and you put everything into it. But who are you as a person behind that? Who is Infamous OG, the guy?
Well, Infamous OG and me are two separate guys. Like, Infamous is the rotten, dirty scoundrel gamer who just loves to get in there and just, get rough and dirty and play the game and say all these horrible words. And then you have Roger who's trying to be nice, trying to do the best he can do. But then that Infamous OG, he comes slipping out and he just causes a ruckus. So.
Is he the original internet guy, Infamous OG, before the streaming?
Well, before there was Infamous, there was ROGLOL1973. Now, he eventually became Infamous, but that was only because my nephew named him Infamous. So I was like, yeah, I can take that name on. So I took Infamous on. And from that day on, it's been Infamous OG 1973. And it kind of went from there. Now I'm Roger Hanson. and people don't even call me infamous anymore. I'm so sad. It's my gamer name, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
you get into the gaming world and it's like that's everything, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden when you change to something else, it's not the same. So
you built up that persona, that presence online. What do you think you could step back into it if you step back into the gaming world like that?
Oh yeah, I still have people that I know who are real close friends of mine who are into gaming, and I try to tell them, I'm like, you know, you don't want to end up being 52 years old sitting behind a computer desk playing video games.
Yeah.
You know, kind of expand yourself out. Like gaming is cool, and I still game, but if you're gonna do this stuff, kind of explore different avenues too. I've got a friend of mine that does a lot of he's a fan of Walt Disney, and he does a lot of Walt Disney videos. Disney Magic Zach is who he is, and then I have another friend of mine named Rapid Glitch, and he does nostalgia gaming retro, which we're trying to get him to where he could kind of reach out and do other things too, because these guys are getting older, you know, and after a while, people want to do more than just video games, you know. So
yeah, do something different. Yeah.
Right.
So was that one a part of your motivation for getting into doing the streaming and the live and the round tables and everything? Was to give people more of an outlet?
I you know, the odd part is it's like with the stuff that I'm doing now, I actually started out trying to do this, but I didn't have the proper equipment to really do it, and I ended up pretty much being forced into going into the gaming and doing the gaming, which I eventually got to where I enjoyed. But then later on, as I was doing it, I was able to build up on my equipment, like a better computer and stuff like that. And I was able to actually do interviews and have my own shows and stuff like that. So in reality, I actually started out trying to do this. As a matter of fact, it was even worse than this because I started out doing gardening videos of all things. Don't tell me.
Gardening videos are cool. I like gardening videos.
Well,
actually,
I mean, I got a reputation, you know. I am
I'm gonna search for your gardening videos.
Yeah.
I'm gonna search online for your gardening videos now. I have a friend of mine that does gardening videos. She'll hook you guys up.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I started. I started out doing gardening videos and reviews, and I even unboxed, believe it or not.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, an unboxer guy. Oh, groovy.
Yeah. Wasn't very good at it. The room was always dark.
What did you unbox? Anything interesting?
Not real. Well, I used to do drones. I unboxed about 3 drones. I also.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if you remembered it or not, but it was the little pads that you had that they were like, had a little keyboard in it, and you could hook it up to like a flat screen television or something and use it as a computer.
I remember those
keyboard.
Yeah.
I did that one, but I found out that was a flop because it was magnetic. So, and whenever you set it down, you have to be careful what you set it down on because it'll end up shorting it out. And I didn't know that at the time. So that set me back. Let's just put it to you that way. I learned that was. I might actually have the video still of that, but it was horrible, and I got so many bad comments from that. Like, how could you know what I mean?
Roger.
And they were right. I'm like, why did I do that? You know, I sat it down on something, and the magnetism of the container just literally fried everything that I had it on top of.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
it was horrible. So
wow.
that's a bad war story.
Well, I think that one of my favorite inspirations is that you have to do something badly before you can do it well. It's just part of the learning process. So it was probably really good at the time, but now that your standards are so much higher and you look back, you're so much more critical of yourself. How long ago was it that you did those videos?
See, my time and dates are pretty messed up. I know that my gardening videos were back in 2016, and I may have started those in 2015, but the videos were bad.
Right.
And the unboxing and everything sort of started around the same time, so I'd say around 2016 was when I first started doing it. And
so it's taken you 10 years to build up to this sort of slick level that you're at now.
I wish I could call it slick, but I mean,
it's brilliant.
To this area that I'm in right now, I there are a lot more things that I would want to go into, but I'm just now starting to figure that out. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm still looking at all of this as a beginning. You know what I mean? I kind of, it's all a matter of growing, and like even back then, you know. That content that I had when I first started, I have no shame over it, because those are memories, you know. Like you said, it's that I had to do that in order to get where I'm at right now. So
absolutely, yeah. I can't go back and look at my old videos; they're so awful. But if I hadn't done them, I wouldn't have been able to do the next one. You know, you have to be doing it for real. You can't just pretend and practice and pretend and practice. You have to get in there and have that sort of like, I don't know, the guts to put it up there, despite the fact that you're not a professional.
I know a guy that's, he's a very accomplished pastelist. He's a member of the Pastel Society of America. He's in their master's circle. He's exhibited all over the world. And he has his studio in his basement. And when you go down to visit him, he has all these drawings that he did that were early in his career, and they're awful. And he says, every time I go down to the studio, I look at my earlier work so I can see how far I've come. I can see all the mistakes I used to make. And it's funny, you go down the stairs and they get a little better and a little better and a little better. And then you go down to the studio and you see the latest stuff he's working on, which is magnificent. You know, he's illustrated books. He's done quite well for himself. And what's very interesting is he always pursued it as an amateur, because he had a day job. You know, he could only do it. He couldn't really take off until he had retired, but all the time, you know, he'd come home from work and he'd keep working on it. And like a lot of artists, he got a job. He worked in an engineering firm as a draftsman because he loved to draw. And you see that a lot of the time where you just have to, if you don't have the time or the money, you have to take something that at least keeps you close to what you're doing. So, but yeah, I like that reminder. You know, it is true what Bob is saying. You know, you've got to make mistakes before you can learn how not to make mistakes.
Yeah. If you wanted to see all my mistakes too, by the way, go to my Working with Audio and Video channel on YouTube, and I've started transferring them over to Rumble too, and I've got all of them from the beginning until now. Well, not all of them. I'm not gonna say all of them, because some of it got lost. But all of it's the important bad stuff is there. Like, if you want to see the rotten, horrible stuff I've done, just go in there.
The faltering steps towards, you know, greatness.
Yeah.
Steps towards greatness. That's what you do.
That's what it is. So, you know, Roger, when we first met, we spent quite a lot of time talking about the hard times in our life, and we sort of bonded over that. And recently you've been speaking fairly openly about some of the issues that you had before you settled into this sort of video career of yours. And you went through a lot of stuff to be able to get here, to actually start making those first videos. How did that hard time of your life affect you and set you up for what you're doing now?
Well, for me, when it comes to a lot of the hard times and the things that I had to go through, I think that it was probably meant that I did this, because certain things, a certain chain of events started taking place where I ended up moving back to Southern Illinois, where I'm at now, and it was to help take care of my parents. And when I moved here, I was really active in Alcoholics Anonymous because I had been recovering from alcohol. And when I got here, that all changed. So I had to figure out how to let go of some of the energy that I had from when I was living over in Evansville, Indiana, where I had AA meetings practically any time of the day, that I needed. If I needed to go to a meeting, I could go to it. Whereas here, you only had 3 meetings a week. And that's when I decided that I needed to really do some stuff. And I had something that had happened with my sister, my older sister's mother-in-law, where when I was living over in Evansville, I'd come over here and I'd visit my family, and my sister's mother-in-law, we'd always sit out on the porch talking all the time, and she'd tell me about this horrible ways that the medical profession used to treat her when it came to seeing the doctors and stuff because of her insurance. And this woman was a landlord for an apartment complex called Sherwood Apartments in Phoenix, Arizona, downtown. And she ended up revitalizing that entire freaking apartment complex. She helped build a community for the landlords where they could meet and organize, and the whole 9 yards. The city of Phoenix even gave her awards and stuff.
Wow.
And she ended up retiring because she ended up getting cancer, and she had to retire and move here with my sister. And she went into remission, but she still had to go to the doctors and stuff like that. She was going through what she termed as the donut hole, where they would let her go to the doctor and they would pay for her medical and stuff, but then they would cut her off or deny her a certain amount of time because the expenses were getting too expensive. And mind you, this is a woman that worked all of her life. She wasn't on any kind of welfare or anything like this. This is benefits that was due to her because she had worked her entire life away, and she deserved what she was supposed to be getting when it comes to this stuff, and they were doing it to her. So when I say that, don't get it mixed up, you know what I mean? Because that's very important for people to really know. And that she ended up getting sick because she was standing outside and she was smoking a cigarette in the rain. Yeah, after she went into remission and she passed away, and that really stuck out to me. And I remembered walking down the road, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing some research, find some of this stuff up, because there's just things that don't make sense, you know what I mean? Like, everybody just accepts stuff the way it is, and they don't realize, man, that there's things that are going on that we aren't aware of, and there's things that we need to really look into and we need to do research on, because you just can't accept things like a open book, because it's not like that, So that's where I started. I ended up doing research, and the next thing you know, I'm into all this weird stuff and hanging out with all these weird people and doing all this weird stuff. And I even have a channel now called The Wonderful World of Weirdness that I never intended on having. It was just given to me.
Yeah. And it's pretty weird over there.
Yeah, it's wonderfully weird.
And,
so that was how you got into sort of internet culture, was it?
Yeah, that's how it all started with the internet.
Yes.
But you know, I mean, I do have to say too that my recovery is actually where it all started. If it wasn't for me actually doing research in that area, I wouldn't have never thought of it. I can tell you, night after night of sitting down and just reading, reading, learning, and that kind of played off on it. So that's how I was able to compensate for all that time that I couldn't go to meetings and be a cool AA,
Right. So you sort of weaned yourself off the dependency on the AA and started depending on yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
Now that's an important thing to bring up too, and I'm not saying this for people who are starting out. When people first go to AA, go to as many meetings as you can. You need it. But when you get to the point where you start replacing alcohol and drugs with meetings, then you become addicted to the 12-step program like you were with the drugs. And, you know what I mean? And that was a place where I was actually more addicted to AA and NA than what I was I should have been able to be productive, go out and be able to function and be around people, but I would rather be at a meeting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah. But then you were called upon to actually reach out and help your parents, and that was the transition point for you, really, to standing on your own 2 feet, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like too that AA gave you the strength to make that transition. They have something similar in Buddhist meditation where you get off of the bad fabrications that you make in your life, and instead you make good ones.
Right.
And that gives you the strength to then make decisions for yourself. Because I think it's a heck of a lot better for someone to be addicted to AA meetings, than to drugs or alcohol, obviously. But it's great that you took that strength and all those skills you learned, and then you applied them to yourself. So you became a self-starter, kind of created your own.
Well, I mean, at the time, I didn't think that way. You know what I mean? It took a little bit of time for it to kick in.
Right.
But and you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm really glad that I did get involved with AA as much as I did, because not too many people do survive when it comes to alcohol and drug addiction. There's the statistics. You can look up the statistics. They're very low, even to this day. Like the 12-step program started in the early 1900s, and it's only improved like 2-3% from that time until now. So it's a miracle that I've been sober even this long, to be honest with you, because most people don't stay sober this long.
Yeah. How long have you been sober, Roger? Is it 23 years?
Yeah, it'll be 23 years on June 14th, 2023. I sobered up June the 14th of 2003.
Wow! Congratulations, man.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is an amazing effort. I think it's about 4% the success rate of people coming off alcohol using the 12-step program. So you really are top echelon guy.
It started out back with Dr. Silkworth and Dr. Bob and Bill W. It started out at 1% recovery rate.
Oh, wow. 1%. Wow.
1%.
Good heavens. 1 in 100, hey?
Yep.
Good heavens. So, Roger, what was happening in your life that, if you look back now, you possibly didn't know it at the time, but looking back, can you see what you were carrying emotionally that you were using the alcohol and the drugs to help you cope with?
Well, first, when it comes to all that, let me point something out before I get into all this, okay? I was never normal. As far back as I can remember, even when I was young, as a kid, I never was like normal kids. You know what I mean? So even though I did have problems in my life, there was just always something about me that just never really allowed me to fit in. You know what I mean? And that's always been the way it has been for me. And it's like you guys been around me, you know how I am, and this is sober. I act like this, okay?
Right.
I believe that that does have something to do, and I noticed that's a characteristic that a lot of people who sober up that I've been around with, they're the same way. They're just kind of oddballs, you know what I mean? And I believe I know that sounds weird, but it's, if you're around people in recovery, you start seeing that, and it's a trait almost, and that's the way. I do have to mention that first before I get into all the other stuff, but I would say that with me growing up, I didn't come from a normal family either. My family was always traveling around from place to place. My dad was, when I was little, he was sometimes he was a dairyman, sometimes he was a truck driver, whichever depended on it. And he had a drinking problem, and he would always do good for a certain amount of time, and he would get on a binge, and he would end up having to move. And on dairies, the thing about dairy farms is if you work at a dairy, you get to live in houses on the property that are utilities included and no rent, stuff like that, as long as you work there. So that's why we were always moving, was because he would lose his job, or he would quit his job before he lost it and go to another dairy. So we were always moving from place to place. Before I hit 18, I lived in Wisconsin, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, back to Georgia, back to Florida, back to Illinois, went from Illinois down to Florida, and then from Florida to Arizona. And then finally, after Arizona, we moved back to Illinois. That was before I even hit 18. So that was the kind of life that I had. And that, I think, is one thing that really affected me when it comes to that. Things happened with me and my parents to where I did have resentments against them. They were pretty strange when it came to their relationship, I can put it to you that way. They had what you would call a swinger relationship kind of thing, and that I just want to point out to anybody who does hear this, just be aware. If you're doing that kind of stuff, you do have kids, that does affect them, because me and my siblings were affected by that, and it really did affect us later on in life. So, and this is the first time I've actually mentioned it, on the internet, but I wanted to point that out. It did affect me, and it caused a lot of resentment from me towards my parents. And it did affect me quite a bit. It influenced me a lot growing up, and I finally made it through it, got through it, but I can't deny that it wasn't a factor, as well as the drinking on top of it. Eventually what happened though was my mom ended up leaving my dad, and she ended up first she ended up dating a guy who had a drug problem, and then she ended up who was a Mormon with a drug problem, and then she ends up marrying another guy who was a Mormon, but he was just like really, really weird and extremely religious, you know. And I tried to reconcile with her, and it didn't work out all that well, and I ended up moving to Illinois with my dad, my sister Becky, and my brother, and we were here, and eventually my mom moved back here after her and her second husband went their separate ways, and she had been with us until she just recently passed away. So that's what took place there. Now the other things that happened to me was I went through a situation where I ended up getting a girl pregnant during my teenage years. So I'm one of those people who had been through a teenage pregnancy, and she ended up giving birth to my oldest son. Now, the whole situation with that was she and her grandmother ended up having fallen out with me and left, and didn't let me know. It was before he was born, and didn't let me know where they were going. That really messed with me, because from that time all the way up until I'd say around my 6th year of sobriety, I didn't know who he was. I knew that he was a boy because I was calling up what we have here in the United States called child support enforcement, and somebody was nice enough to tell me his gender, but they couldn't legally tell me anything other than that. You know what I mean? That really messed me up, because I knew I had a son, but I didn't know his name. I didn't know anything about him. And like I said, about 5 years into my sobriety, with the help of my sisters, they were able to locate my ex and contact her. And she contacted me over the phone, and we had a conversation. And I got to learn what my son's name was. He was, I still wasn't able to meet him until about 5 years ago. And, but I was able to at least know what his name was. But 5 years ago, he came up here and he lived with us. And, that was a pretty good thing. But all that time and before that, I was, you know, that really stuck with me, you know what I mean? It messed me up. So there was a lot of
yeah.
You know, so I did have that going on, and those, you know, and like I said, you know, I could easily say that those were the reasons why I drank, but that's not it. You know what I mean? That's not it, because it took me a long time to finally grasp the idea that what happened in the past is in the past. You know what I mean? I'm responsible for today. Okay? I could sit and I could blame everything that happens to me on all those horrible things that happened to me way back when if I wanted to, but that's not going to justify any of the bad behaviors that I do today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I had to learn that because I didn't understand those things.
People say loneliness is the empty room, a chair, a road, a silent moon. But it comes when the truth leaves your mouth like flame and comes back twisted, wearing your name. It comes when love makes a wound of your need, calls your sorrow selfish, calls you speaking greed. So I left where the fields turned thorn and stone, walked so far that my name fell off. fire sparks. Now the night leans in. Now the dark knows where I've been. I don't need a fire that burns too hot. I just need one that stays. I don't need a voice to make me small, or a love that takes away. I go where I go, I stop where I stop. I sleep where the earth says yes. Whatever the future brings to me, I have my song, 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 and that is enough. I've got wolves who nod in the silver pines, birds who stay when I cross their lines, crabs and rabbits, frogs in the reeds, a lone Egyptian goose and the patient trees, and the ducks on the pond. Oh, they make me smile. They asked for nothing, they stay a while. They never tell me to soften my light, never ask me to vanish to make them feel right. Some night silence sits by me like a friend with no need to speak. Some night silence sits by me like a friend with no need to speak. I don't need a fire that burns too hot. I just need one that stays. I don't need a mouth that calls me wrong, or a heart that turns away. I go where I go, I stop where I stop. I sleep where the ground says yes. Whatever the future brings to me, I have my song, 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 and that is enough. Some nights it's a hollow shore, wind on water, nothing more. Waiting wide as an open sky, a quiet ache that won't say why. But even sadness can be a place, even sorrow can hold a grace. And I have learned in the listening air, not every lonely thing is despair.